Hey guys, how's it going? Caleb here. Hope you're doing well. Love ya. And I saw this title of this video and I thought it might be interesting. I started listening just for about 45 seconds and I go, I should do a reaction to this. So I didn't watch just this first part, and it seems like it's going to be touching on uh, Europeans leaving to go to America. And so on this channel, I've gotten so much flack for saying anything good about America. I did some reaction to some videos that are critical of America, and I think some. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't worry about it. There's just dumb people who, type in whatever they want, just ridiculous things. I'm not a American shill. I don't think America is. If you add everything all up on paper, I don't think America is the best country in the world. I think probably Norway is, and I've done several videos on Norway. But I do think there is a number of reasons why America is still very strong and wealthy, and why we haven't been dethroned as the strongest or wealthiest country in the world yet. And I think one of our biggest advantages is tech and this innovation, I should say, innovation, and which is often in tech, but through a lot of other things too. Um, and people having a sort of wanting to win mentality, and when you really want to win, you really put in the effort and you really try um, to do all you can. So in the first 45 seconds of this video, I already touched on those things a bit, um, uh, uh, or at least well, not really, but anyway, we'll just watch it, and I might stop it. I know some people don't like it, but I don't like to forget things that I'm thinking. So let's watch.
In 2021, the payment processing company Stripe became the most valuable U.S. startup. Stripe was founded by Patrick and John Collison, Irish Europeans who had a valuable idea but had to come to the United States to make it come to life. In the same year, the software company UiPath also became regarded as one of America's fastest growing companies. UiPath was founded by Daniel Dines and Marius Turca, two Romanian Europeans who founded their company in Bucharest but are now headquartered in the US. Again, and also in the same year, Databricks also became regarded as one of America's fastest growing companies. Although founded by multiple people, Databricks was co-founded by Ali Ghodsi, a Swede, and Ion Soica, a Romanian. Stripe, UiPath, and Databricks are three examples of extremely valuable companies.
Just wanted to touch on something. I don't know this guy's ethnicity completely, but he looks like he may have some Middle Eastern or Indian descent. So I think it's interesting that he's talking about brain drain, and it seems as though maybe Europe has gotten some benefit from people leaving those countries
Stripe,
and going
UI,
Middle East, and we're going anywhere and going to Europe. So I just thought I'd touch on that. Europe also gets some brain drain benefits from other parts of the world, and sometimes Americans go to Europe. But anyway,
Path, and Databricks are three examples of extremely valuable companies that reflect an overall trend. Many driven Europeans
just wanted to say I agree that it is a trend, and I do think it's something I hadn't heard much with prior to this this past decade. But yeah, I think it'll be a trend. I think it'll be a really strong growing trend in the future.
who are creating very valuable companies are doing it in the United States. In fact, I would go as far to say that these examples reflect a larger problem, that Europe loses valuable innovation to the United States, and Europe experiences one of the largest brain drains on the planet.
I would hesitate to say that it's a problem. I do think brain drain can be a problem for the areas where people leave from, but often people leave and make something great and they bring the benefits back to where they are from, or they're able to kind of take their idea, make it really big somewhere else, and then bring back that product as a better version, whereas if they had just stayed in one place, maybe they wouldn't have gotten the resources that were available in another part of the world. But that would so I do think it can be good, but again, it can be bad. So anyway. Just really quick again, case in point, my state, Wisconsin, has a lot of brain drain to other parts of, we have some pretty good universities. The main probably being UW-Madison, and also Marquette is pretty good. We have a lot of at least decent ones. But often people go to school and then they go to California or another part of the world. But often they'll get good jobs and they'll work and develop for a while, and then they'll come back much wealthier than they were when they left. And so that money gets then brought back to the state. So it may be better if they were able to kind of just get great careers in the state, but I do think it is better for the state because money does come back, and maybe that money eventually can create situations to incubate startups or innovation in the future.
Venture capital allows investors to help support businesses that are expected to have future growth but aren't large enough to generate it on their own. Although Europe experiences problems with developing enough startup companies to begin with, which is
just wanted to read this.
A topic for a later video. It's the later stage funding where Europe primarily experiences a weakening connection with its founding companies.
It's up to investors in late stage financing rounds for Europe. Have a headquarters outside of Europe.
Stage funding for startups is overwhelmingly provided by the United States and foreign financiers. This not only shifts responsibility to investors outside of Europe, but it also produces a dynamic where many European startups will leave Europe in order to go to the US before receiving later stage funding. When European startups exit, it's almost a 50-50 chance where they'll end up. From 2012 to 2016, the Startup Europe Partnership found that around 44% of European startups were acquired by US companies. And this means that in the same time period, US companies practically acquired as many European startups as European companies did. An acquisition by a US company means that the original startup's main shares are bought up, and it is now part of a company that is skewed towards maximizing the value of American shareholders.
I think that's pretty much true. I do want to say that oftentimes when people hear maximizing value, they think it's just like take every single penny that you can right now. But when in actuality, if you want to make a company that lasts super long, I think look at Amazon. And I'm not defending Amazon or their practices, and I think are quite bad sometimes. So just bear with me. But in terms of the consumer, it's quite good, and in terms of the country, it's done a lot. Now, I think they're too big, and I think it should be broken down. But the value that it's brought to the consumer is, I don't know, it's maybe immeasurable. For those employed there, yeah, quite definitely at least questionable, and I think should be dealt with. But I think that's the fault of the government. Not intervening in these or these other startups like Facebook or whatever that have taken over, and they have essentially monopolies on certain things, Twitter, Google, and YouTube, and sometimes some startups are owned or bought by individuals and in or smaller groups or whatever, or they're not listed publicly. And when that's the case, that people can do things with them that they don't have to just maximize purely paper value. Case in point, the New York Times was bought by Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, and I don't know if the company was in bad shape, and I don't know if he's actually made any money from it. But to be completely fair, it was maybe not good for America because the New York Times, in my opinion, is very bad. But that wasn't a purchase. In my opinion, that was made out of trying to get a bunch of money out of the company or making a bunch of money because it wasn't a very good investment. He could have definitely got a better return on other things. So there are situations in which a company can run and grow where it's not just trying to get every penny out of that you can and making everything terrible. And I mean, on the other side, you could say for Facebook, it's not very good for the users, but apparently it's one of the best places to work and people are treated well, the employees, and same for Google. So you get this kind of switch back and forth. I don't know of a company it's really great for the people who use it. I guess I would say maybe like Southwest Airlines is the first I can think of where it's like people who are happy that work there, and usually I hear good reviews from people that take their flights. Yeah, it's difficult to think of other companies where there's that balance, but you can usually get one side that has like some. I don't want to say you can usually, but you're usually you're able to get one side that's good sometimes, and then the other side's not so good. But sometimes you can get both. Sometimes you can get a bad customer experience and bad employment experience. Apparently, NVIDIA is a really great place to work, and I think people like their products pretty much. So I think that's a fairly good example. Bain and Company is a consulting firm that apparently is great to work at. And I don't know, I haven't been a customer, but since they've done so well, it seems like customers are probably pretty happy. Anyway.
Immigrants born in Europe are over 5 times more likely to have created an innovation in America compared to the average native-born U.S. citizen. Although it has been changing, Europe has lost many gifted scientists to the U.S. in the past, and there are many graduate students who complete their studies outside of Europe and the U.S., and many of them do not come back. On June 4th, 2021, Patrick Collison tweeted, "The good news is that EU tech is really starting to bloom. It's only a few characters, but he's completely right." On the 9th of April, the European Commission opened up the European Innovation Council Accelerator, which is tasked with providing investment and funding for startups. By June of this year, around 2,000 companies had applied for funding, which amounted to more than